Hello and welcome to a next Career Connect interview. And today I have with me Nishta, who has a PhD in genomics, cellular molecular biology, and is now working as a communications manager at a research institute, where she organizes workshops and student events for science communication. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Sarah. Pleasure to be here.
So to get started, can you please tell our audience how did you get interested in science communication?
Actually, I got interested through the outreach activities that happened at my PhD host institute, which is a life sciences research organization. And not just that, in fact, because my family and friends couldn't really understand what we do in a PhD. So in my frustration, sometimes I would just, rattle out some science tale about how life, everything we do in life is actually has science connected to it. So those are the kind of things that gave me a hint that communicating science in a simple way is a big gap in the country, and also I can fill it really well by means of dialogue as well as writing and other formats. And during the PhD outreach events, we used to get school and college students to the campus, and we would give them tours, and not just facilities and technical aspects of science, but also trying to ignite their curiosity a little bit more than textbooks would. So that is how I got started into science communication.
Nice, that sounds really interesting. And now, what is motivating you to keep doing science communication? Why are you passionate about it?
So, like I said, the realization that people think of science as something separate from their daily lives, which is actually not true. Science is in everyday life as much as it is in our textbooks and research labs. But for them to understand it, it needs to be simplified. It needs to be distilled down so that they are able to connect with it and not treat science and scientists as someone separate or much more intelligent, etc., from society, from the normal society. So I thought this is a good cause to go for. And of course, the aspect of science education is also one part which um, I felt, at least in India, the traditional way we teach and learn science is through books and through tests and through lab practices. But when students are able to see, you know, all of what they read in books in real life in some physical form, maybe in the form of a display, etc., then they are able to grasp the concepts much more effectively and they retain it for a longer time, which is the feedback which both students and people used to give us. Um, so that was one of the motivating factors.
Okay, nice. And once you figured all of that out and you knew where you want to do science communication, how did you get started? What were your first steps to actually get experience in the science communication field?
I would like to, acknowledge the scientists here who have been encouraging enough. And once I got to know that I have the knack for science communication through outreach, it was scientists who told me that, that this is something that is very much required. So they encouraged me to get into it, and I started by actually just writing articles, blog articles, or newspaper articles. And I would say that was probably my first paid gig as a freelance writer. And I saw my articles going into online magazines and newspapers and things, which was again very much encouraging, which meant that there is a demand for this kind of writing. So that's how I started off. And after that, fortunately in India, they started opening up positions like science communications officer or manager in institutes where research was being done, especially in the life sciences. So that's how I started getting into this once my PhD was towards completion.
Okay, nice. So now that we know how you got started into the science communication field, what is it that you're actually doing now as a communications manager? What is your role? What is your function? What are you doing on a daily basis?
So I am kind of in a transition right now, but I was at the Institute for Stem Cell Science and Regenerative regenerative medicine, um, in STEM for short. There, I was looking at all their website content, their social media, and trying to highlight whatever research was going on in the labs in a simplified form for social media consumption. So basically, targeted at the general audience. And sometimes you would also, try to capture the student life at Instant, which essentially was targeted towards the masters or postgraduate students here in India who would want to do a PhD or want to get training in research in the life sciences. So apart from that, there was also a lot of reporting involved. So writing lay summaries of the research, creating illustrations, and sending them off to the stakeholders. That was also a part of the job. Now I have a new role at similar role, but in a new place in Laksha University, which is a private technology university. They are trying to reimagine higher education. So they are finding new ways of teaching engineering courses. Their focus is mainly on undergraduate programs like BTech. So a lot of cutting edge technology oriented courses, including AI and robotics, is happening here. And here also, I have to highlight the research into not just the general public psyche, but also in the scientific community. So, writing science news pieces, which can get picked up by aggregators, or populating their social media with research content. Those are the kind of things that I do. And I will also be involved in training the faculty and researchers on how to speak to the non expert. So, how to speak to someone who doesn't know anything about their science. I have also taken a few classes on science communication in STEM as well. So these are the kind of things, that the combination of a lot of
Yes.
all things.
At the beginning, you also told me that you're organizing workshops for students and public student events or open days. How's that going? How do you like that?
So open days were a part of the outreach event, like I said, in my PhD hosting institute.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to design specific stalls and displays for the school students. And at INSTEM, I was basically coordinating or facilitating visits of school students in Bangalore. So both of these roles were slightly different because when you are creating a workshop, you are totally thinking of all the content that goes into it. And as a coordinator, I was just trying to bring the right kind of person to actually do the talking or do the presentations and demonstrations rather than actually doing it myself. So during the open days at IJIB, I was a part of a science display where it wasn't really a display. It was a series of science tricks, what we call. So, tricking them based on temperature, viscosity, teaching them concepts like that through magic tricks.
Yeah.
And basically, we would perform the tricks and we would ask them to guess, what do you think is going on? And then there will be a magic versus science kind of debate between the students. So that's how they would take back home a concept.
Okay.
While at INSTEM, as a coordinator, what I ensured was that there is some sort of alignment between what what they have read in their classrooms and what they're going to see in the institute. So let's say there is a group of bioinformatics undergrads who are coming in for a visit. So rather than showing them, let's say, the Drosophila lab or something, I would rather show them the mass spectrometry facility or the genomics facility where there's a lot of data crunching happening, so that whatever they have learned in their textbooks and in their colleges, they can see it, getting implemented or used in real life in research, so that they can build a connect and also understand where what they're learning is actually useful and where they can grow in their careers. So those are the kind of things I take care of.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. Sounds very, very fulfilling to see students actually learn and react to what you're doing. How does it make you feel?
It's the most gratifying thing. I mean, if I could do it for free, I would. Because not just students, sometimes even teachers, and in big festivals like the India International Science Festival or the Global Bio India Festival, we actually have a lot of footfall of just parents and their kids coming to see all the exhibits. And when both the child and the parent understand the same thing at that same level, and both of them show excitement, that shows you that it's a job well done, and also shows you that science is not that difficult if it's explained, in a proper way. So anybody can understand it. So that's very gratifying.
Nice. That sounds really exciting and really inspiring as well. So you said that you sometimes have both both children and parents with you in your workshops in these open days. How do you make sure that you align the science communication workshop and the way you communicate with the certain type of visitors or with a specific audience?
Right. So we didn't get a mixed visitors for the workshops as such. Those were mostly school students, and they would come in batches with their teachers. So teachers were the elders in that group. But in the science festivals, of course, we can't regulate who's stepping in at what time. So what we try to do is, at least I try to connect with them per their age and their background culturally. So by the language that they use to ask us questions and all, we can understand kind of what is more comfortable for them. So if they start speaking in Hindi, for example, or if they ask us something in Hindi, we switch to Hindi from English. So that's getting to their comfort level first. So that is one thing. Language is a challenge. Then trying to ask what they do as a profession and trying to find an analogy from there. Or if it is a housewife who was a student or working somewhere and then she left the job or something like that, then tailor the dialogue there and then to what they would understand it. So that is how I ensure that the message gets across to all age groups. But of course, you have to do this one by one. But both of the age groups are able to understand what is being told to the other.
A lot of trial and error as well, and everyone's perceiving things differently, and everyone needs some different kind of strategy and communication. But always good to have some kind of expert advice on this topic in general. So thank you very much. And as our last question, which advice would you give to aspiring science communicators if they decide to get started in the field? What do you think they should really take into account?
They should take into account that it's not going to be an easy ride because, first of all, science communication as a field is not a very structured field of work. Second, it has a lot of variety, which means from the mode of your communication to the audience you are targeting, all of these are very big ranges. So whether you want to write or you want to create videos, how will you find the content for those things? And every step requires investment in terms of both effort, time, and also money sometimes, because you probably need to travel to visit scientists or visit some place. So those are the kind of investments you will have to make. And as far as I have seen, you do need to have a sort of a beginner's portfolio, what I would call, to start to actually apply for more structured jobs because the recruiters always want to see what you can do. So instead of taking you onto the job and then testing you out, they prefer someone who already has something to show. So building a beginner's portfolio in whatever way you can serves you really well in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Thank you very much, Nishta, for your insights and for your inspirational tips and ideas. And I wish you all the best for your science communication journey. And thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.